Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, money just doesn't seem to flow effortlessly into your life? Or maybe you hit a financial ceiling that you just can't seem to break through. The truth is that our subconscious beliefs could be the biggest thing standing in your way. From childhood conditioning to deep rooted fears about money, your mind holds the key to unlocking financial abundance or keeping you stuck in scarcity. Today, we are going to deep dive into the subconscious with a powerful expert who knows exactly how to reprogram those limiting beliefs and shift your money flow for good. Welcome to another episode of Supercharge Your Soul's Transformation Podcast. For all of our listeners, my name is Dimple Bindra. If you know me already, thank you so much for coming. And if you do not know me, then please listen to this episode and do give us a review on iTunes, especially if you loved the show. Today's topic is about how your subconscious beliefs are blocking your money flow. So stay tuned. So our expert today is Katie Potratz, who is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a pain reprocessing therapist, and a best-selling author. Through deep subconscious reprogramming, she guides her clients on a journey of healing, ranging from anxiety and trauma to self-worth and even chronic pain. In her book, The Uncaged Mind, she explores the immense power of the subconscious mind and how conditioned beliefs keep us stuck in cycles of shame, fear, and pain. And she's passionate about helping individuals break free from these limitations, harness their inner power, and create a life filled with abundance and fulfillment. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Katie, I love hearing about people's journey. So I'm curious on what led you to the work that you do today. Was there a defining moment that made you realize the power of the subconscious mind?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I love hearing people's stories too. So I'm so happy to share. I never saw myself doing this kind of work. If I'm being totally honest with you, I never thought I was capable of doing this kind of work. I really truly got here because I discovered, the changes that I saw in my own life just made me so passionate about helping other people. And yeah, the more I learned, the more I was, hungry for more. I basically I had my daughter back in 2015, and I kind of knew in my heart that you know I felt like there was a shift when I had my daughter. It was almost like it felt like an opportunity for me to redefine myself. And I came across this book, and it was because I signed up for this opportunity. The opportunity ended up not really going anywhere for me, but I feel it was an intuitive like feeling I had to sign up for this opportunity. And along with this opportunity came this book, which I was very uninterested in reading at first. I actually put it on my bookshelf and didn't even look at it for quite a while. And then for whatever reason, I decided to pick it up as we were going on a road trip. And yeah, this book totally changed my life. It was the first self-development book I had ever read. Part of the reason why I wanted to write a book is because my life would be so much different right now if I hadn't have read that first book. It really just opened my mind to so much. And so I read this book and, I don't even remember specifically what exactly really resonated with me, but it was just the idea that we are so much more capable than we believe we are. And it really just got me kind of excited about myself because I feel like I never even really realized how much I was holding myself back. How much I was holding myself back in just being my authentic self, and how much I was holding myself back in what I wanted for my life, my dreams, my goals, my desires, all these things. I feel like I was a very small version of myself back then without even realizing it. And so this book really just opened my mind to so much. And yeah, it kind of got me going on this path of my own self-development so long ago now. And yeah, it's just crazy. My daughter's turning 10 this summer. That's 10 years ago. That's just mind blowing, to be honest.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. That's amazing. But I'm curious, what is the name of the book which you read that changed
Yes.
your life?
Yes, the book is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And I've read it again since then, and I stand by it. It's a good book.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, so that's how you got into doing what you're doing today. And you,
Yeah, so
Hmm?
yeah, absolutely. So I kind of, that started my own self-development journey. And from there, I started to notice really incredible changes happening in my own life just based on, changing my mindset and kind of exploring my discovering things within myself. And yeah, that led to this massive excitement that I have about these kinds of changes that we can make. Like I feel like I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, like, oh my God, we're so much more powerful than we think we are. And so then the obvious next step was I wanted to help other people feel as good as I felt. And not all of it is fun and exciting. We do some inner work, some that's less exciting, less fun, and more, it's work. It can be painful, it can be uncomfortable. But just the immense difference I felt just on a day to day, just like a weight had been lifted, like the world had opened up for me in just amazing ways. I just knew I had to help other people feel the way that I felt. And so I started with, life coach training. I was like, how can I help people starting from the very beginning? Then I immediately needed to know more. It was like, now I need to know EFT. Now I need to know NLP. Now I need to know, and as I kind of learned more, it was like, what I was really kind of grasping was that the big changes happen on a subconscious level. And so to me, the obvious next step was I need to learn hypnosis because that deals with the subconscious. Like it just seemed like the obvious next step. And so I learned hypnotherapy, and I've learned lots of other things since then too. I feel like they just kind of all come together. I take what resonates out of all these modalities and kind of make my practice really special. But I feel like hypnotherapy really resonated with me the most because number one, we see just amazing changes with hypnotherapy. It is so effective. And it works so rapidly. I mean, it kind of takes the cake for me. It's definitely my favorite. And so that's kind of where I've dug my heels in, and everything else is kind of icing on the cake.
Very cool. Oh my goodness. So you're like a wisdom of different toolkits that we can tap into. And I'm sure we'll do definitely more podcasts with Katie because she has like a lot of wisdom when it comes to EFT, when it comes to hypnotherapy, and then her new book, The Uncaged Mind, which we'll talk about later for sure. So keep listening. So I wanted to kind of understand this. You work with people on everything from anxiety and then trauma to chronic pain and self-worth.
Mm.
And by the way, I do follow you on Instagram and I love your content. It's always very nature oriented. And I love that about you because you have this presence, which is like very flowy, feminine, nature. You're always like doing something cool. So do check her out on Instagram. I'm definitely going to add her information on the show notes. But my question was, and I know that like money issue, especially money struggles, are also huge for so many people. When did you start noticing the connection between like subconscious beliefs and financial abundance? Did that
Oh yeah,
happen?
Well, I mean, I definitely noticed it multiple times. Like I worked with lots of people on their subconscious beliefs about money and abundance and things, but I even noticed it within myself. It's like I feel like as a business owner, and you can probably relate to this too, or anyone listening that's a business owner, like if you really start to pay attention, you can start to sense like the beliefs that you have like really do shape the reality that of your life. And, when you choose to believe something, oftentimes that's what you attract into your life.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so much more to it. I feel like you could look at it from like a manifestation point of view. You could look at it from a subconscious belief point of view, but really it's like the same story. We're just looking at it from a different lens. And it's just that what we believe either about ourselves or about money or about life or about work, those beliefs kind of ripple out and they create our reality. And then we find ourselves in kind of our reality matches that, I guess. And so I've definitely noticed it within my own life, but working with clients, there's such a correlation between, the anxieties that they feel about scarcity or not having enough, or even an environment that they grew up in as a child. Was there financial stress? What kinds of things did they learn from their parents, whether, their parents were, directly saying it to them or whether they were just interpreting it, because a lot of the beliefs that we have, they aren't necessarily the exact words that someone told us. It's more so the conclusions that we come to based on what we experience. And especially as children, we don't have anything to compare that to. So we go through an experience, it makes us feel scared, or it makes us feel less than, or it makes us feel bad. And because we have no other experiences to compare that to go, wait, that wasn't me or whatever, we just take that on and we just go, oh, I'm bad, or oh, I'm not safe. And then that feeling creates all of these beliefs, and our mind is just this meaning making machine. And so when we feel something and our mind doesn't know like why we feel that, it just comes up with ideas. It comes up with reasons why. So if we feel anxious, and it's this anxiety that's always been there because it's a belief that we picked up in childhood, or an emotion that that's trapped within us from experiences previously, and we have this emotion, then our brain will just start coming up with reasons why we are feeling anxious. There's never enough, or we won't have enough money to pay for XYZ, or we can't afford it, or all these money beliefs. It could be any kinds of beliefs, but I know we're specifically talking about money today. But our minds will just come up with reasons why we feel this way. And so when we really start working on money beliefs, it goes. When I'm working with a client on money, it rarely has anything to do with money. When we really get to the core of it, it has to do with safety, and it has to do with worth.
This makes me feel, and what you're saying is like spot on, because I literally changed my money story in December of 2024. And
Wow.
our listeners who don't know this, I had recorded this episode with Katie before, and somehow that episode got deleted for a reason. I don't know why. But this is my second episode with her, but technically we're going to launch it for the first time ever. And what I'm trying to say is my money story got changed because what you're saying is right. The conclusions that I found from my childhood story, I literally had to go right into it and change the story up and really see the truth for me to really change it. So what you're saying is right. It's not about what people tell us, it's about how we conclude it. What do we feel about that experience? Oh, wow, this is amazing. So can you tell us about why so many of us seem to struggle with money even when we are working hard? And you already kind of touched base on it, but feel free to like say the same thing again. But why do we hit these financial roadblocks, and where do they actually come from? Is it just through subconscious beliefs, or is it the stories we tell ourselves, or is it like more to it?
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, absolutely. A lot of people struggle with financial like mindset beliefs, roadblocks. And I think a big reason of it, or a big reason behind that, is that, like I said, it really does come down to our worth and our safety. And, if you think back to being a child, one of the, as a child, you are in a lot of ways pretty helpless. You're very much dependent on your parents or your caregivers for safety, for love. And as a child, and the reason why childhood is just so significant, and you might, if you're new to this kind of work, you might be thinking, I thought we were talking about money. Why are we all of a sudden talking about childhood? And it's because childhood is just this really fundamental, crucial part of our life where our brains, our minds are developing. Because you can almost think of it like, when you're born, you're kind of coming into this world as like a blank slate, or like an alien. You don't understand anything about life. And so those first 9 years of your life, you're really kind of understanding yourself, understanding your relationships, understanding safety, understanding love, understanding like how the world works. And you're understanding so much. But like I said before, you have nothing to compare it to. So instead of understanding it in the way that you and I, or anyone listening, could understand it with our adult minds that are fully developed, by using logic and ration, we don't have that as a child. Like there's this, if we can't separate the mind, but if we could, just for simplicity, we could say we have the conscious mind, we have the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is that part of your mind that uses logic, uses reason, that can think through things, that can analyze things. And we have the subconscious, which is just kind of like an information storage bank of, everything that you've learned, everything that you've heard or read, all of your memories, all of the information you've gathered is stored in your subconscious. And that includes your habits, your patterns, all of those kinds of automatic things that happen as well. And so as a child, that conscious mind is very, that subconscious and conscious are very like connected. And so everything that comes in kind of just dumps into your subconscious. And slowly, as you get older, some of those things are weeded out as you learn and understand new things. But a lot of the core beliefs are just kind of dumped in from childhood. And because we have no way of like kind of picking and choosing what we want to believe, everything is kind of dumped in. And then as we grow up, and our minds fully develop, that conscious mind and subconscious are a little bit more separated. There's almost like a gatekeeper in between. So we can't just, willy-nilly believe everything anymore. But as children, we really don't have that much of a separation. And so as a child, if you make a child feel a certain way, then they're just going to they're going to take that in and make that mean something about them. They can't understand it in the logical, rational way that we understand it. They just make it mean something about them. And so if a child feels unsafe, they don't go, oh, I'm unsafe because XYZ. They go, oh, I'm not safe. Like, I'm not safe in this world. Or, if you make a child feel bad or shameful, they don't go, oh, I feel bad because I did that thing and I shouldn't have done it. They go, oh, I'm bad. I'm shameful. And then it's like those kinds of core beliefs just get stored in that subconscious. And then as we get older, if they're not shifted, they become kind of this core element of who we believe we are. And these core beliefs really shift and change our lives completely. And, we're here talking about money, and they very much affect the way that we give and receive and spend and save money. And if we have these core beliefs that we're not worthy, or we're not good enough, or we're shameful, or we're bad, or that we're not capable, or that we're unsafe, all of these things affect the way that we give, receive, spend, earn money, because money is safety. Money is stability. Money is, for some people, money is love. For some people, money is, your worth. It's all of these things. So how could money not be affected by all of these core beliefs that we have that came from childhood? And so childhood is just such a fundamental time of our life where we're creating our understanding of ourselves. And we're really creating all of these fundamental beliefs that will affect how we feel about money. And so, as an example, if we feel like we're not worthy, like if we have a low self-esteem, or if we feel like we're bad in some way, and a lot of people feel this, like this deep feeling of just like, I'm bad. I can't explain why, but I just feel like something's wrong with me, or something's bad about me. And it's like, how could that not affect your money story? When money is literally your worth on paper, printed into your bank account. So it's like, if we don't feel like we're worthy, then we're never going to charge the amount. We're never going to ask for the raise. We're never going to go for the job, because deep down we feel like, I'm not worthy. So why would I even bother?
Totally makes sense. So can you give us an example on what are some of the most common subconscious patterns that keep people stuck in like scarcity?
Yes. I would say if I really got down to the core, it would be, I am unsafe and I am unworthy. I feel like safety and worthiness are like the fundamental key aspects. Like if you think about, like I said, a child, what do they need? They need to feel safe, and they need to feel significant in some way. They need to feel loved. They need to have that connection. They need to feel important. And so if in childhood we feel like, our childhood was maybe in some ways unsafe, as in there was instability in the household, maybe, or there was instability in our parents, like maybe our parents were very unpredictable. They're good one moment, they're lashing out the next. We don't really understand the difference. And so we're kind of walking on eggshells. So it feels like our home environment is unstable. Or maybe we've been through some kind of trauma. Maybe there's been abuse. Maybe there's been, an illness or something that's made us feel like life is not safe. So then we have that underlying belief that I am not safe. And so with money is safety, money is stability. And so that can absolutely affect that. And then as far as worthiness, I mean, if you are in a household where, again, you feel for whatever reason that you're not good enough, and it could be, something that your parents directly do, or a caregiver, or a sibling, or another significant person in your life, or it could be something that's very indirect. So it's not like they meant to make you feel that way. I certainly don't go into my sessions, going, your parents are the real problem here. It's like they were just doing the best they could too. And a lot of the times they definitely didn't mean to make us feel that way. That was just the conclusion that we came to. And so if we feel unworthy, like we're not good enough, or we're less than, or we're, unworthy of love or anything like that, then it's going to affect the way that we see money, because money is our value. It's our stability. So I would say those two stories come up over and over when I'm working with people on money, or any kind of financial difficulty, or even in business. I mean, if you are a business owner, then you know that these are, I feel like going into business for yourself is like signing up for this insane self-development journey that you probably didn't even know. And you're like, oh, okay. You're like, this is the whole thing.
Totally. I feel like, if you are an entrepreneur, especially, you just don't know where the next client is going to come from. So all of your money trauma is going to stem up, and you have to work on layer by layer to really uncover them. And sometimes, for me too, like I used to, I remember if we talk about money, I used to charge so little for my sessions early on, like 16 years ago. And today I'm like, when I give my rate, they're like, what? That's too expensive. I'm like, yeah, that's what I charge, So I openly say it, and I don't care what the next person feels. I feel like this is my worth, because I had to
Yeah.
also develop myself and then build my worth. But my next question is it's a very common theme that I'm seeing in my clients, which is, and I wanted to ask you on your opinion. So let's say this person is passionate about something. Let's say they really want to do singing, okay? And they're doing a job that they hate because of paying the bills, which is a very common thing that we all are hearing, because I'm in the Bay Area and I have so many clients in tech space. So all of these people are like software engineers, and they have these titles, but deep down they want to do this one creative aspect of, I call it your purpose, or maybe that's their purpose. But somehow they can never do that creative aspect because they feel like, how am I gonna pay the bills? Do you
Mhm.
feel this is also related to their money story?
Yeah, I think it could absolutely be. I think, depending on the person, but I think that it sounds like there's this kind of back and forth between what I should do and what I want to do. I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of people have this kind of responsibility, or they feel this sense of responsibility, like they have to make the most responsible choices. And, if we really get to the root of that, like, what is that? Is that this feeling like almost like self-sacrificing? Sometimes that can kind of play a role where it's like we kind of put everyone else's needs above our own. Maybe we're putting, the needs of, or we'll say we're paying the bills over our own happiness. Well, I know that obviously paying the bills is important, but it's like we're not even open to the idea that we could pay the bills in a way that also makes us happy, right? It's like we're going like, I have to be responsible, I have to be I have to do this job, should have to, and it's like we're kind of putting that over our own like needs, our own desires. And so I think that could absolutely be playing into how they're earning money, how they're spending money, how they're choosing to even spend and earn their time as well. Yeah, I definitely think that if you have this belief that you can't have that thing that you want, I would definitely be exploring that and going, why do you believe that you can't have what you want? Why do you feel like you have to sacrifice your own desires to kind of like survive in this world?
Yeah, makes total sense. Okay. What about, we always hear like money is the root of all evil, or you have
Mm.
to work hard to be rich. Do these types of beliefs really have that much power over our financial reality?
I would say yes. I would say that they certainly impact the way, I mean, just as you're saying them, I'm like, you can just hear the belief, like the emotion and the like intensity behind that. Money is the root of all evil. It's like, oh, so interesting. Like, I feel like you kind of get to this point where you're like, that's so interesting. Why do you think that? Why do you believe that? And it's like, obviously, something has happened in, if someone were to believe that, it's like, I feel like it's just a great thing to do is just always asking yourself, like, why do I feel this? Why do I believe this? And so if you believe that money is evil, or money is bad, or people that have money are evil or bad or selfish, asking yourself, why do I believe this? And you might find, oh, you might think of certain people that have money that are bad or doing bad things. But it's like, what is it in me that makes me believe this about money? Because money, like, let's just be real, money is just pieces of paper printed. Like, money is just a number in the bank account. Money is like such an interesting topic, because it's not really like a real thing. It's more like it's not really so tangible. It's like it's almost like a concept. And so it's interesting that people feel such strong ways about money when it's like it's literally like this concept of worth, of value. And so, yeah, I think that asking yourself those questions, like, why do I believe this? And those are kinds of essentially what we do in a hypnotherapy session is we get to the root of why do you feel this way? I have clients that have enormous amounts of debt and they can't seem to get out of it. And it's like this pattern that they're stuck in. And we get to the root of like, why do they keep going around and around in this circle? I have other clients that have just feel so much anxiety about money, even if they're doing okay, even if like the bills are paid and everything's fine, they just have this massive anxiety about money, that things might go bad again one day, or things could all be taken away, or all these things. And again, when we get to the root of that, it almost never has anything to do with money. That's just how it's manifesting. And that's how that belief is manifesting as an adult. But really, it has to do with stability. It has to do with safety. It has to do with love. I worked with a client a couple of years ago where she was racking up credit card debt, couldn't seem to stop it. And when we really got to the root of it, it was she was experiencing love through gifts, through acts of service, through spending money. And she had this deep fear that if she stopped buying her kids the newest shoes or the latest whatever, iPads or whatever, that they would like not love her, which is like, it's so irrational to say out loud. But when you like get to the root of that, it's like, that's the feeling. And then, obviously that took us back to like childhood when she was asking for things that all of her other friends had, and her parents said no, and she felt like that was like a lack of love in like them giving and receiving. So it really, like, not to sound like a broken record, but like your childhood is just like so fundamental in the beliefs that we form and how we live our lives. But yeah, and like the stability and the worth, it just really comes down to money is stability and money is worth.
I agree 100%. This is like, bullseye on if you want to work on your money story, you better fix your childhood beliefs. And I totally
Yeah.
agree. And so now that we talked about beliefs, we know, okay, it comes from childhood. It probably comes from your parenting. What's the first step to really breaking free from money blocks according to what you would suggest your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things you could do. So obviously, I work with people doing hypnotherapy. So that's what I would suggest. But not you don't have to do hypnotherapy to obviously heal your money story and all that stuff. But I would say if we were really to break it down, we're really acknowledging, I mean, you can't fix anything that you're not aware of. So I feel like sitting down with yourself and becoming really curious, what is my money story? I remember the first time that I did this exercise, I'm like, I don't friggin' know what my money story is. Like, I don't really get it. So I feel like you have to like sit down and really like kind of like investigate, like, what do I believe about money? And when you get really honest with yourself, I feel like sometimes you can surprise yourself by going, oh, I can't believe I'm writing this down, but I really do believe that it'll all be taken away, or that I'll never sign another client, or that I will never get a promotion, or that I'm not worthy of the job I have, or on and on. So I feel like once you get really honest with yourself, you can start to actually see those beliefs written out for you. And then again, like I said, kind of like being like a detective and going, why do I believe this? Like, what is the emotion? So for example, like everything will be taken away, or like all of this could go away. What is the emotion behind that? It's like, ooh, that there's fear. There's a lot of fear there. So like, where's that fear coming from? And kind of like starting to be your own detective and kind of investigating. And essentially these are the steps that I take people through in hypnosis. And so, we start with the surface level problem, money. Okay, so we know that it's not really about money. So that's a surface level problem. And then once we start investigating, we go, okay, what's the emotion that's like connected to this story, or this pattern, or this habit? And then when we get to the emotion, it's like, okay, let's get to where the root of that is really stemming from. Because likely it had nothing to do with what happened recently, what happened in the last 5 years. Even if you went through financial hardships, there's a good chance that the money story goes back further than that. Like we said, childhood is just like, it likely comes from childhood. Maybe if you went through a recent hardship with money or something, that could just kind of compound those beliefs and make them even more ingrained. But what I've often found is that it almost always stems from childhood. And so in the sessions, we kind of get to that root emotion, like, where did that fear of having everything taken away, where did that stem from? And what we find when we regress back, sometimes we go back to traumas. If you had childhood trauma, then sometimes it's connected to trauma. But I've worked with a lot of people where they've had some kind of trauma in their childhood, but the thing that they're working on isn't actually connected to that. So I know there's like a fear of like, oh, I don't really want to like work on that trauma or whatever. And we like in our sessions, I don't ever pretend to know what this is connected to. I always just bring you into hypnosis and allow your subconscious to kind of take us where we need to go. And so, we may find ourselves going back to a childhood trauma if there was any, or we might just find ourselves honestly going back to something that seems very mundane. Like it doesn't have to be this big thing. It could be, if we started with that feeling like it all could be taken away and we recognize that that's fear and we've regressed back, we could find ourselves, in a moment where we were really afraid. We needed our mom and our mom wasn't there. Like, think back to being like 3 years old or 2 years old. It doesn't take much for a 2-year-old to feel very distressed if their mom isn't there when they need her, right? So it could be something as simple as that. It's not normally a big trauma. It's normally just little moments where you felt that feeling, whether it was shame or fear or guilt or anger. And you didn't have a proper way of expressing that feeling. And as children, we don't know how to express and to process our emotions on our own, especially if we're always told, don't be mad or don't be sad or stop crying. Then we're suppressing, like we don't know how to process it. And so, if we don't have the ability or the tools or the guidance to process our emotions, then they just get stored. And then that just fuels all of these beliefs and that just kind of stays with us and it starts to create our reality. So once we get into that core memory where the emotion is stored, we can usually very easily release the emotion, see it from a different perspective, because your adult perspective is going, oh my gosh, I needed my mom and she wasn't there, but I can see that I was still safe. Like I was still okay. And with our adult perspective, we can go, it just kind of immediately takes all of the fear and all of the emotion out of it. And you go, oh, it's okay. I was actually safe. Or, if we do go back to a trauma, it takes a few more steps to kind of help you feel safe in that. But when we go back to it with our adult perspective, it put a completely different spin on that experience. And it's so much easier for us to cultivate safety in that memory and to release the emotion that's been stored. And so that in itself really changes how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about, that surface level problem that we came in with, money or whatever it might be.
That's amazing. This is hypnotherapy, but what about EFT? And I know
Yeah.
last time you showed us this technique, and I'm glad that recording got deleted, because once I listened to it, one of the things that actually was happening was while you were showing it us on video, it was not clear on what the person would listen to. So today, is it okay for you to actually run us down like an EFT quick technique that anyone can use to come out of this issue, but with the instructions on, all right, touch your forehead, tap your forehead 4 times.
Yes.
If you could do that, that would be great, because I was like, oh my God, I lost the recording. But I was like, oh, wait a second, this was the best part, but it did not have the message that the listeners want to listen. So if today
Absolutely.
you could do that, that'll be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone that's listening that doesn't know what EFT is, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And it's essentially a very, very simple technique that you do with your fingertips just by tapping different parts of your face and your upper body. And so the idea is very similar to that of like acupressure or acupuncture. There's certain meridian points in the body where if we put pressure on them or with tapping, we tap, then we can release emotion or energy. Essentially, emotion is energy. And so when we're tapping and addressing an emotion, then we can help release it. And so I love tapping because number one, it's so simple. And number two, you can basically do it anywhere. And number three, it can be very effective by shifting your state and releasing those emotions. So I would love to take you through a tapping routine. So let's just come up with kind of a scenario. So I'll just do like a very generic or kind of a good example. So, the example of everything's going to be taken away, or I'll never, have the abundance, or like just the scarcity, I guess, that scarcity mindset where you never have enough, it's never enough, and everything can be taken away.
Can I give you a suggestion?
Yes.
Can we use one statement which I'm hearing a lot from women,
Yeah.
which is, I feel that my husband should take care of me. So like men need to take care of women. That's a
Gotcha.
lot which I'm hearing. And I'm like, oh, not really, And that was one of my personal beliefs too. And I had to delete it completely from my mind and body. But if you can work with this one statement, that will really help our women audience, because this is the audience that's listening who are codependent, living in toxic marriages. and they cannot get out because they're like, oh, my husband takes care of me. So this would
Yeah.
really help if you could work on all of your statements and this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Definitely. Yeah. So the scarcity and this feeling like, I feel like that's kind of incapable of taking care of myself. Like I'm
Yeah.
not powerful enough, or I'm not capable of financial abundance or financial gain. So yeah, we'll kind of go through a kind of a example scenario just so you can kind of get a feel for it. And what I usually tell people is, once you learn the steps, like the places where you're going to tap and how you're going to do it, then you can kind of just go with whatever you're feeling. And I always tell people, like, be as honest with yourself as possible about exactly what it is you're feeling. So if you go through this tapping with me right now and it doesn't really resonate, I would encourage you to like just jot down a few things about your money story. I feel, kind of write it down and then tap on those things so it really resonates with you. But we'll do an example one. So for everyone that's listening, the very first tapping point is going to be the karate chop zone is what we call it, which is that tender spot on your hand that's just below your pinky, in between your wrist and your pinky. So we're going to start tapping on that, and we're going to do our setup statement. So we're going to say, even though I have fears around money, I fully and completely love and accept myself. We're just going to say that a few more times. So as we tap, even though I have fears around money, I fully and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have these fears about money, I fully and completely love and accept myself. And then we're going to go straight into tapping. So first tapping point is on the very top of your head. And I like to tap with both hands. So tapping on the top of your head, and we'll just go, even though I have these fears about money. And then we're going to move to the eyebrow point. So the very beginning of your eyebrow, it's kind of on your forehead. We're going to tap. I
And
feel
you
like
can
I'm not
use
capable. Oh, sorry, go
and you
ahead.
can use your fingers, right? Like any fingers, it doesn't matter, right?
You betcha. Any fingers, just tapping gently. Even
Perfect.
though I have these fears about money, I feel like I'm not capable of earning money. And then we're going to move to the next point, which is right on your temples, right beside your eye, tapping gently. Even though I fear that it'll all get taken away. Moving down to just below the eye, we're tapping kind of on the top of our cheeks. Even though I have fears that it could all be taken away, that I'll never have enough. Moving down to just below your nose, above your lips, tapping gently there. I feel
So
like it can
Katie,
all be taken away. Yeah.
sorry, while you're tapping, what we're saying is, are we speaking out our fears or are we speaking what we
Yes.
want?
We're going to first address our fears. We're going to first address the emotions that we're
Oh,
feeling. And then we're
got
going
it.
to kind of, yeah. So we're
So
just
you're
going to, so anything that you're feeling about money, any of those bad feelings, those negative feelings, we're going to address them right now. That's what we want to do. So
got it.
tapping, and
Yeah.
like I said, address anything that resonates with you. So even
Mhm.
though I feel like I will never get that promotion, or I'm
Mm,
not worthy of that promotion. So moving down to the next one, which is right on your chin, tapping on your chin, even though I feel like I'm not deserving of money. Moving down to the collarbone. So just finding your collarbone and going about an inch below your collarbone and just tapping there. Even though I feel like I'm not worthy of money and that it can all be taken away. And then the last point is just under the arm. Kind of, if you're a woman, you're just right on your bra strap there under your arm. So tapping on that, even though I feel like it could all be taken away and there's never enough. And now we're going to move into back to the top of the head. I fully love and accept myself. Moving
so
to
you go through the whole cycle of fears and then you go into something you want to tell yourself to feel safe and stable.
yes. And we're going to kind of
Nice.
alternate between addressing the fears and reframing it, addressing the fears and reframing it.
Frame.
Okay,
Nice.
so we're just going to go through one more. So the top of the
Right.
head. So even though I have these fears about money, going to the eyebrow point, even though I feel so much fear about paying my bills, going
Mhm.
to the side of the eye, I fully love and accept myself. Going to under the eye, and I'm choosing to release this now. Going to
Mm,
under the nose, I fully accept myself. Under the chin, and I know that I am safe.
I know that I'm
And
safe.
onto the collarbone, even though I have these fears about money, down to the rib cage, I fully love and accept myself, and I know that I'm safe.
So a few inches
And
below where you put your deodorant and where your bra strap is. If this is a woman, if you're a guy, then exactly where you feel like your upper back is, that's where she's tapping right now. Cool
yeah,
with both her hands. Mm-hmm.
yes. And so we just keep kind of going through that process. those are the tapping points. And like I said, we're addressing the fear. We want to address the emotion as we're tapping, and then we want to reframe it. So addressing the emotion and then reframing it. And you can slowly start to morph it as you go through. You can slowly kind of move into just the reframe. So I'm choosing to accept this now. I'm choosing to release this now. And then you can, just reframe it. I know I have enough. I know I'm capable. I'm choosing to see that I'm capable, all of these kinds of things. So as you go through it, just kind of shifting from addressing the fears to reframing those fears.
That is amazing. Thank you. Please tell us about your book. Why did you
Yes.
write
Oh my
it?
gosh. Yeah.
Why did you write it? And how can people find the book and what benefit they're going to get when they read your book, which is The Uncaged Mind? And I looked up the link. I went to Amazon. I went on your website. So I just want to know from you, like, tell us about your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So yeah, I wrote this book because like I said before, when you learn this stuff that I feel like it's just so fundamental to like becoming your happiest, most fulfilled self. It's like you just want to shout it from the rooftops. It's like I have this message and I need to get it in front of as many people as I can. And so I really felt called to write a book. And like I said, reading that first book really changed my life and set me on this new trajectory of my life. And so books are just like they just hold a special place in my heart. And I have also just always loved writing. So it was really special to write the book. But essentially, my book is all about the illusions that we create, these illusions that we create. I'm not safe, I'm not enough, all of these things where, we really believe them, but they're not true. And just kind of walking you through how that really creates this reality where, money is hard to come by, or where you suffer from anxiety, or where you never feel confident, or where you live in chronic pain. And it's like it all stems from these illusions, these misbeliefs, these untrue beliefs that we hold about ourselves, and how our conditioning really affects every aspect of our life. And so in the book, a lot of people don't understand hypnotherapy, or it's kind of this mystery modality. And I really wanted to kind of break it down and show you exactly what a session looks like and exactly how somebody heals and what does the healing process actually look like. And in the book, I think it's like 18 different client stories and, what their sessions look like and how they healed and what that looked like for them. But I also share a lot of my own story about, healing my own childhood trauma, healing, even physical things that were related to like having an emotional cause. I mean, I'm very passionate about the mind body connection. And so there's a couple of chapters in there where we talk about, clients that had, chronic migraines, or clients that had fibromyalgia. And when we got to the root of the root of that illness or that pain, we were actually able to resolve it, and symptoms are disappearing. I have my client, gosh, we worked together now like 4 years ago. She had fibromyalgia, she had cluster headaches, she had pain all over her body. She was actually had to leave work because she was unable to go to work every day. She was in so much pain. And then she found me and started working together. And within, I believe it was like 6 sessions, all of her symptoms are gone. She now has an amazing business. She is like living her dream life. And because we are able to get to the root of that and resolve it. So I'm very passionate about the work I do, and just because it literally changes people's lives. It's absolutely incredible. So yeah, the book kind of goes through and kind of explains what exactly it's like to heal and why our conditioning can have such a massive impact on every aspect of our life.
Thank you for saying that. And where can people find you, your work, or follow you on Instagram? Can you please tell
Yeah.
us?
Absolutely. So the book is available on Amazon.
Yeah.
Again, just called The Uncaged Mind. And I'm on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram, just Katie Potratz. I'm on there. That's my main platform, I feel like. And then also, if you want to just visit my website, you can check out all of my services and everything I have to offer. It's just katiepotratz.com.
So if you really need healing and if you really want to let go of your anxiety or your trauma or your chronic pain, then do contact her. She's an amazing hypnotherapist. Do get her book on Amazon, The Uncaged Mind. Today it's on sale. It's cheaper today. I'm like, you know what? It's only $7.50. That's amazing. So by the time this show gets released, I hope that you can find her book. Please go get her book. And I'm also gonna add her book link as well as her website and her Instagram on our show notes. Katie, it was an absolutely transformative session. So thank you so much that you have given us your time, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on our show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And for all of our listeners, always remember metamorphosis, not medication, and namaste.